There is a gesture a man makes when he kills his own comrades. Private Alexei Shestakov makes it on the night of the crossing. In the middle of the Dnieper River, water temperature 4 degrees Celsius, he is in a rotting flat-bottomed boat. Around him men are drowning, men from his regiment, men he knows. They grab at his boat, fingers white with cold, hands clawing at the gunwales, desperate, dying. Shestakov raises his oar. He brings it down, on hands, on heads, on faces. He strikes until they let go, until they sink, until the water closes over them. He must, because in his boat are 2 spools of telephone wire, red German cable. Without that wire, the artillery on the far shore falls silent. Without artillery, thousands die on the bridgehead. So he kills to save. He murders to complete his mission. Watch his face, expressionless. Watch his arms, mechanical. The oar rises, the oar falls. A man releases, a man sinks. The oar rises again. This is the mathematics of the Velikoknitsky bridgehead. This is autumn 1943. The Dnieper River, the Eastern Wall, this is the story of how 25 to 30,000 Soviet soldiers were thrown into a pocket of mud and blood. A diversionary manoeuvre, expendable men buying time with their bodies, while the real offensive happened elsewhere. This is the story of what it costs to cross 400 metres of cold water when the enemy holds the high ground. Let us go back to the beginning, to the moment when the order came down. Part 1. The operational reality. 2 Soviet fronts converge on the Dnieper. German documents call this defensive line the Eastern Wall. The facts are these: width at the crossing point, 400 metres minimum. Current, strong, particularly in the channel where the bottom drops away, and the speed doubles. The left bank, Soviet held, slopes gently into forest and marshland. Easy to approach. Nowhere to hide. The right bank, German controlled, rises steeply. A cliff. Every German position overlooks the water. Every approach is exposed. A natural fortress. The order: force the river without pause, seize a bridgehead, hold it, ensure the crossing of main forces. The means: there are no pontoon bridge parks. Assault crossing equipment is critically scarce. The directive states use improvised means. And so, gates torn from houses, barrels stuffed with straw, tent canvases tied into bundles, rafts lashed together from green timber that soaks through, that barely floats, that splinters under the first mortar hit. The question no one asks aloud: how many men will it take? The answer that everyone knows: as many as necessary. Part 2. The telephone line. Artillery success depends on fire correction. Fire correction requires communication. Radio sets are unreliable, batteries dying in the cold, static, obscuring transmission. The only option is wire, telephone wire. 400 metres of it laid across the killing zone, underwater where shells cannot sever it. Private Shestakov, telephonist, control platoon, 22 years old, literate, trained. His vessel found rotting in an oxbow lake 3 kilometres upstream. 2 plank sides, aspen bottom. When you stand in it, water seeps through the cracks. The gaps have been caulked with an old padded jacket, oakum foot wrappings. It will float, barely, for a short time. His cargo: 1 telephone set, the TA-57 standard issue, weighs 11 kilograms. 2 spools of captured German wire, red insulation, hard plastic sheathing that doesn't absorb water but tears your gums bloody when you must strip it with your teeth because pliers are lost or broken or never issued in the first place. Before boarding, Shestakov removes his boots and trousers, keeps only his underwear. The calculation is simple. If the boat capsizes, boots will drag you to the bottom. Wool holds water, becomes heavy, pulls you under. Better to freeze than to drown weighted. The air temperature at night approaches 0. He will cross the Dnieper in his underwear. If he survives, he can warm himself later. If. Part 3. The crossing, the choice. The artillery preparation begins at dusk, hundreds of guns firing from the left bank. The right bank erupts, earth fountains into the air, trees shatter, German positions vanish in smoke and flame. Under this cover, the assault groups enter the water. Most infantry have no boats. They swim on tent canvases stuffed with hay, the hay sodden within minutes, sinking slowly. On logs bound together with wire, the wire cutting into palms as men cling. On overturned tables, on doors, on anything that might float for the time it takes to cross 400 metres. The MG-42 machine guns open up. Hitler's saw. The barrel glows red in the darkness. Tracer rounds arc across the water, beautiful and deadly, leaving trails of light that end in flesh. Shestakov paddles. His boat sits low in the water. Every stroke threatens to swamp it. Behind him, the telephone cable unspools, the red wire sinking into the black current, disappearing into depths. Then, hands on the gunwales. A drowning man, then another, then 3, 4, 5. Their faces, terror, pleading. The universal expression of men who know they are dying and will grab anything to live one moment longer. Each man adds weight. The boat sits lower. Water sloshes over the sides, pooling around the telephone equipment, around the wire spools. The mathematics are immediate and brutal. Additional weight equals sinking. Sinking equals lost communication. Lost communication equals silent artillery. Silent artillery equals the death of thousands on the bridgehead, who depend on covering fire to survive the next hour, the next day. Shestakov understands this with terrible clarity. He picks up the oar. The first man he strikes is someone he knows. A face. Not anonymous. Someone who shared tobacco 3 days ago. Who complained about the same soggy bread. Who spoke of a village in Ryazan province. The oar comes down on his fingers. The bones break. You can see the fingers bend backward. The man's face, surprise, betrayal, understanding in rapid succession. Then he releases. The current takes him. His face disappears beneath the surface. Another hand grabs the gunwale. The oar falls again. And again. Each impact, a choice. A calculation. One life against hundreds. One drowning man against a telephone line that must reach the far shore. Shestakov's face remains expressionless. His arms work like machinery. The oar rises. The oar falls. A hand releases. A head disappears. The oar rises again. Around him the river becomes a nightmare of motion. Horses drowning in harness, men climbing onto their backs, pushing the animals under in desperation. The horses thrash, eyes rolling white, then slip beneath the surface. Corpses drift past. They don't sink immediately. The cold water preserves them. They accumulate at bends in the current, caught on submerged debris. Jams of dead flesh rotating slowly in eddies. Shestakov reaches the far shore. The boat scrapes mud. He has completed his mission. The cable is laid. The telephone line functions. He climbs out. His legs don't work properly. The cold. The effort. Something. He crawls up the bank. Behind him the boat drifts away, empty. He will carry this for the rest of his life. The memory of hands releasing one by one, of faces sinking, of the mechanical motion of his arms as the oar rose and fell and rose again. But the artillery can now fire, can correct, can support the men dying on the bridgehead. This is the price. This is always the price. Part 4. The Bridgehead. Topography of Death. The bridgehead is a narrow strip beneath a steep bluff, cut by ravines and the bed of the Cherevinka stream. A stream that runs brown with mud and other things. Height 100. Vysota Stowe. The key position, a hill rising 30 metres above the surrounding terrain. Whoever controls that hill controls the crossing, can see everything, can direct fire onto everything. Depth of the bridgehead, 200 metres at the narrowest point, where the bluff comes almost to the water. 1 kilometre at the widest, where the ravines provide some cover. Some. Troop density, critical. 25,000 men compressed into less than a square kilometre. They dig holes in the ravine slopes, burrow into the soft earth like animals, like cliff swallows making their nests, except these nests collapse when shells hit nearby, burying men alive in wet clay. Medical support. The medical battalion remains on the left bank. Too valuable to risk, too necessary for the main offensive that will come later elsewhere. On the bridgehead itself, only isolated medical orderlies, young men and women with Red Cross armbands and medical bags containing bandages that run out by the second day. Evacuation of the wounded, nearly impossible. Boats are destroyed by German artillery fire, high explosive shells that detonate on impact with water, killing everyone within 20 metres with concussion alone. Shestakov's boat becomes the medical transport, operated now by two women, military medics named Nelia and Fire, both under 25, both exhausted beyond measure. They make trip after trip across the river, 4 to 5 critically wounded men per trip. Men with abdominal wounds, chest wounds, wounds that need surgery within hours, or death is certain. Hundreds of other wounded remain on the shore, lying in mud and blood, waiting for a boat that will not come. They die there, slowly, over hours or days. The sanitary conditions require detailed description. First, corpses. The shore is carpeted with bodies, not a figure of speech. You cannot walk 10 metres without stepping on or over a corpse. Sappers drag them to the water with hooks, long poles with metal hooks, the kind fishermen use for large fish. They hook the corpses under the arms or through the clothing and drag them to the water's edge. Push them in. The current should carry them away, but the current is capricious. Many wash back up within hours, bloated and discoloured. The smell is sweet, cloyingly sweet. The smell of rotting meat in late autumn when the cold slows but does not stop decomposition. It gets into your clothing, your hair, the back of your throat. You taste it when you eat. You smell it when you sleep. Second, lice. Total pediculosis. Every man on the bridgehead has lice within 3 days. The soldiers say the louse comes from the body, as if the parasites are generated spontaneously by suffering. They are not, of course. They breed in the seams of uniforms, in armpits, in crotches, wherever fabric touches warm skin. From blood loss and exhaustion and malnutrition, the immune system collapses. The body stops resisting. The lice multiply unchecked. Men scratch until they bleed, creating new wounds that fester, that become infected, that sometimes kill as surely as bullets. Third, rodents, rats and mice, no longer afraid of humans. The constant artillery fire has driven away their fear. Or perhaps they have simply learned that human corpses are food. They gnaw the noses and ears from the wounded and the dead. Soft tissue first, then lips, then eyes. At night, they crawl into dugouts, seeking warmth from the living. You wait to find them on your chest, on your face. Heavy. Their fur coarse. Their claws sharp. Fourth, flies. Black carrion flies. In late September, they should be dying off with the cold. But here, fed on abundant flesh, they thrive. They cover the shore like a living carpet. When shells explode nearby, they rise in clouds, thousands, tens of thousands, a black mass rising and settling. They land on your face, on your hands, on your food. They lay eggs in open wounds. Within hours, the eggs hatch. Maggots. Part 5, resource collapse. Supply to the bridgehead has broken down completely. The field kitchens have been destroyed by artillery fire or remain across the river, unable to cross. Hot food is memory, a dream. The ration consists of hardtack and canned meat, issued before the assault, consumed within the first 24 hours. After that, nothing official, nothing organised, fallen fruit, wild pears and apples from abandoned orchards. They roll down into the ravines. The soldiers eat them, hard, sour, barely ripe. They cause stomach cramps and diarrhoea, but they are food. vegetables from no man's land gardens, potatoes, pumpkins, beets, left unharvested when the civilians fled, retrieved under German sniper fire. Men crawl on their bellies through mud to dig up a single potato. Sometimes they are shot while doing this. Sometimes they make it back. Fish. The river is full of fish. Stunned by shell concussions, killed by the overpressure of underwater explosions. They float to the surface, white bellies up. The soldiers scoop them from the water and eat them raw, unsalted, ungutted sometimes. They call this sagadai. From this diet, raw fish, dirty water, unripe fruit, many develop bloody vomiting and explosive diarrhea. The diseases, dysentery, from drinking untreated river water, water where corpses float, where horses have died, where blood and feces and chemical runoff from explosions have mixed into a toxic soup. But men drink it anyway because there is no other water. The alternative is dehydration, which kills faster than disease, also from consuming chemical fat, lard, from American aid packages. It is not food. It is industrial lubricant packaged to resemble food. But starving men eat it anyway. Within hours, the cramps begin. The bloody diarrhea. Men shit themselves in the trenches because moving to a latrine means exposing yourself to sniper fire. They lie in their own waste, the smell, the humiliation, the infection that spreads from contaminated clothing to raw skin to bloodstream. Night blindness, hemerolopia, the medical term, from vitamin A deficiency, from weeks of eating nothing but hardtack and rotting fruit. The symptom is simple. As dusk falls, vision fails. The world becomes indistinct grey shapes. Men who could see perfectly at noon cannot see their own hands at twilight. They stumble in the darkness, holding onto each other's belts like blind men. They fall into shell craters, 5 meters deep, filled with cold water and debris. Some never climb out. They drown in 3 meters of water, unable to see the crater's edge just 2 meters away. Part 6. The individuals. The documentary nature of these events is confirmed by specific lives, specific deaths, men with names and histories and futures that were erased here. Major Alexander Zarabin, deputy commander of the artillery regiment, 41 years old, intellectual, career officer. Before the war, he taught mathematics at a military academy. He wears wire-rimmed glasses that are always dirty with mud and sweat. The wound, a heavy shell fragment in his left side. The impact spins him around. When he looks down, he can see inside his own body. The ribs are torn open. The pleura, the membrane around the lung, is visible, translucent, moving with each breath like a jellyfish. His decision? He refuses evacuation. Listen carefully to this. He is the only officer on the bridgehead capable of competently correcting artillery fire from the left bank. The only one who understands the mathematics of ballistics, who can calculate angle and distance and wind deflection in his head. Without him, the guns fire blind, wasting ammunition on empty terrain while German machine gun positions remain untouched. So he remains. He lies in an earthen niche carved into a ravine wall. Blood and pus leak from the wound constantly, soaking through bandages, pooling beneath him. The smell of gangrene develops within 48 hours. Green tissue, black tissue. The flesh around the wound dying, the infection spreading. He knows he is dying, everyone knows, but he continues to work, speaking into the telephone, transmitting target coordinates, corrections, right 100, up 50, fire for effect. His voice grows weaker each day. On the 4th day, he can barely whisper. On the 5th day, they evacuate him by force. He protests, tries to resist, but lacks the strength. He survives. Barely. Months of surgery. Permanent lung damage. Hero of the Soviet Union. Invalided, out of service, lives until 1967. Dying of complications from the wound that should have killed him in 1943. Sergeant Finifatiev, 53 years old, a collective farmer from Vologda province, party organiser, his speech marked by the northern accent, the hard O sounds that mark men from that region. His character methodical, calm, caring in the way old men sometimes are. The kind of man who, even in war, maintains standards, who washes things, who keeps order. His death, he dies from wounds and blood poisoning in a trench on the 7th day. The wound is not dramatic, a shell fragment in the thigh. But in these conditions, infection is inevitable. The wound suppurates, turns black, the infection enters his bloodstream. In his delirium, he believes rats and snakes are crawling over him. He brushes at his chest, his arms, trying to remove creatures that are not there. His hands move constantly, patting, brushing, searching. He dies quietly, covered by a blanket he had laundered 3 days earlier, washed clean of a dead lieutenant colonel's blood. He had carried it to the stream, the Cherevinka running brown with mud, and scrubbed it with cold water in his bare hands, hung it on branches to dry, folded it carefully. When his time came, someone, no one remembers who, covered him with it. A small gesture of respect. He died beneath clean cloth, Leka Buldakov, 29 years old, a former criminal, penal battalion, Siberian, face scarred from a knife fight in a labour camp, missing 2 teeth from the same fight. His equipment. He fights in size 43 boots, taken from a corpse. His own size is 45. The boots are too small. Within 3 days his feet are bleeding, the skin rubbed raw. But he wears them because his own boots, good leather boots, military issue, were surrendered to the quartermaster before the crossing. To keep them dry, they said. They were never returned. His achievement. With a single rifle shot at 300 metres, he kills a German spotter positioned in a tree. They call these spotters cuckoos, men who climb high into trees to direct artillery fire. Nearly impossible to see, nearly impossible to hit. Buldakov hits him on the first shot. The body falls, tumbling through branches, landing with visible impact. Then, during a German counterattack, he eliminates an enemy machine gun crew. Grenade first, thrown from 20 metres, landing precisely in the position. Then hand to hand. He goes in with his bayonet while the Germans are still stunned. 3 men dead in 15 seconds. His death shot in the back while attempting to assault another German machine gun position. The bullet enters below the right shoulder blade, exits below the left collarbone. Both lungs punctured. He does not die immediately. He crawls toward the river. Not toward help, there is no help, just toward water, the instinct of a wounded animal. His last movement is this, crawling through mud, leaving a trail of blood behind him, reaching for the water he will never drink. They find his body 30 metres from the river's edge, face down, fingers clawed into the earth. Ashot Vaskonyan, 34 years old, literature scholar, polyglot, speaks Armenian, Russian, German, French, reads Latin and ancient Greek. Before the war, he taught at Yerevan University. A gentleman, the kind who apologises when he bumps into you. His fate. After 3 weeks on the bridgehead, he is transferred to headquarters as a translator. An easy assignment, safe, warm, food. He will interrogate German prisoners, translate captured documents. He escapes, returns to the front line, to his comrades. When asked why, he says, "I cannot leave them." He dies in hand-to-hand fighting at a water source, a spring in a ravine, one of the few places where clean water seeps from the ground. Men are killing each other over a trickle of clean water. German soldiers and Soviet soldiers locked in combat over the right to fill canteens. Vaskonyan dies with a German bayonet in his stomach. The German dies with Vaskonyan's knife in his throat. They are found lying next to each other. The spring continues to flow, mixing their blood with water. He is buried in a mass grave. 43 men in one crater. No markers, no names. Colonel Beskapustin, regimental commander, 56 years old. His body is failing. His condition pre-infarction state. You can see it in his face, swollen, the skin tight and shiny. Red rash on his lips, broken capillaries. He breathes heavily, even at rest. His heart is visibly failing, beating irregularly, struggling. His action. On the 9th day, the Germans launch a major counterattack. Tanks, infantry, artillery preparation that lasts 3 hours. The Soviet line begins to collapse. Men break, run for the river. Kapustin, dying on his feet from heart failure, personally leads the counterattack. He walks the front line, not runs, walks, because he cannot run, without a weapon. He carries only a stick, a walking stick that he uses to point, to gesture, to strike men who hesitate. He shouts, he curses, he shames men into standing, into fighting, into dying in place rather than running. The line holds, barely. The Germans are driven back. Kapustin is killed 2 weeks later after the evacuation from the bridgehead during the autumn offensive. A random shell. He is buried in a military cemetery. The heart condition that should have killed him on the bridgehead kills him elsewhere. Part 7, The Enemy, view from the other side. The opponent on this bridgehead is not a faceless mass, not an abstraction. This is a professional military force, well-trained, well-fed, technically equipped. German tactics, economy of force. They do not charge Soviet machine guns. They do not waste men in frontal assaults. Instead, mortars, artillery, aviation. They methodically pulverize the earth square meter by square meter. German life on this front. Oberleutnant Boloff, Corporal Golbach. These are not exceptional men. They are average, and the average German soldier in September 1943 has regular hot meals, soup, bread, meat, coffee, changes of underwear, clean socks, medical care within hours of injury, morphine for the wounded, antibiotics, though limited, bandages that are actually clean. The contrast is absolute and instructive. The Russian soldier has one rifle between two men in some units, a handful of cartridges, 40 rounds if lucky, no food beyond what he can scavenge, no medical care beyond what a 19-year-old orderly with a month of training can provide, water from the river where corpses float. The German has automatic weapons, machine guns that fire 1,200 rounds per minute, established communications, telephone lines laid properly, in trenches protected, radio sets that function. German signalmen go to repair wire in pairs with security details. Armed guards. Russians go alone, hearts pounding with fear, every step expecting the sniper's bullet. But even in the German army by 1943, the crisis has begun. In the trenches appear the old men, reservists in their 40s pulled from factories and offices, and the children, Hitlerjugend, boys of 16 and 17, with smooth faces and terrified eyes. The German army that invaded in 1941 was professional, confident, victorious. The German army in 1943 is stretched thin, bleeding, doubtful. Discipline is maintained through fear of execution for desertion or defeatism. And the professionalism of the NCOs, Unteroffiziers who know their jobs, who keep the machine functioning even as it grinds itself to pieces. Still, the Germans are warm, they are fed. They rotate off the line, 2 weeks forward, 1 week back for rest. They have this advantage. The Russians have nothing, no rotation, no rest, no relief. You stay until you are killed or wounded so badly that you cannot continue. That is the system. Part 8, Political Cynicism. While men on the bridgehead eat raw fish and die of gangrene, on the left bank, the rear, another world continues. Colonel Musanok, chief of the divisional political department, 48 years old, party member since 1918, political commissar, not combat officer. His activities: he demands party meetings before attacks. Men scheduled to assault German positions in 2 hours must first attend a meeting about ideological vigilance. He orders telephonists to copy patriotic poetry, Mayakovsky, Simonov, instead of transmitting combat commands. Fire missions delayed while lines are occupied with propaganda. His comfort: He lives in an equipped Studebaker truck, American Lend-Lease vehicle, spacious. His mistress lives there too, a typist from the political department, 19 years old, blonde, terrified of him. They have a cot, a stove, electric light from a generator. He eats special rations, canned meat, butter, chocolate, white bread. While soldiers across the river, his soldiers under his political authority, gnaw on apple cores and eat raw fish that makes them vomit. His death is absurd. His driver, Brykin, a 32-year-old mechanic from Leningrad, a patient man driven beyond patience by months of humiliation and abuse, arranges an accident. The Studebaker is driving on a forest road. Brykin knows where the mines are. Sappers marked the cleared paths. He deliberately steers off the path. Just slightly, just enough. The mine detonates, the truck disintegrates. Musanok dies instantly, torn apart by the explosion. Brykin survives. Minor wounds. He reports, "The colonel ordered me to take a shortcut. I warned him about mines. He insisted." No one questions this. No one investigates. Everyone knows. Everyone is glad. Musanok is buried with military honours as a hero. His mistress is transferred to another unit. Brykin receives a commendation for trying to save his commander. The brutal truth, the savage truth, the truth that must be stated plainly, all the heroism at the Velikoknitsky bridgehead, all 25 to 30,000 casualties, killed, drowned, wounded, died of disease. All of it served one purpose, diversion, to divert German attention from the main strike elsewhere, to make the enemy believe the crossing would occur here, to fix German reserves in place while the real offensive developed 100 kilometres upriver. These men were expendable material, human resources, ammunition made of flesh. They were thrown into slaughter to simulate an offensive, to create noise and fury, to draw German eyes here while the real blow fell elsewhere. They were bait, human bait, and they fulfilled their function perfectly. The Germans reinforced this sector, brought up reserves, concentrated artillery and aviation, exactly as intended. And while they did this, while they focused on destroying the Velikoknitsky bridgehead, the main Soviet forces crossed the Dnieper unopposed 100 kilometres away, crossed easily, established real bridgeheads, began the liberation of Ukraine. The men at Velikoknitsky died for this. They died so others could live. They died so the real offensive could succeed. Whether they knew this or not, we cannot say. Probably not. Probably they believed their bridgehead mattered. Probably they died thinking their sacrifice had meaning in itself. It did not. It had meaning only as distraction, as deception, as a trick played on the enemy using human lives as the medium. This is the nature of war at this scale. This is the mathematics of operational art. You spend lives to purchase outcomes. You trade men for terrain, for time, for advantage. The generals who made this decision were not evil. They were practical. They calculated that 25,000 casualties here would save 50,000 casualties elsewhere. And they were probably correct. But the men in the water, the men in the ravines, the men dying of gangrene and starvation, they did not know this. They could not know this. They fought and died believing they mattered. Perhaps they did. Perhaps the belief itself was sufficient. Perhaps dying for an illusion and dying for truth amount to the same thing when you are the one dying. Part 9. The River of the Dead. The fighting at the bridgehead subsides in mid-October, not because of victory, because it is no longer necessary. The main offensive has succeeded. German attention can be released. The diversion has served its purpose. The remnants are withdrawn. From regiments, companies remain. From companies, platoons. From platoons, squads. Some units are reduced to 5 or 6 men. The shore has become one continuous cemetery. You cannot walk without stepping on bones, without disturbing the dead. Many were never found. The Dnieper carried them away. The current pulled them under, into deep water, where they settled into mud and silt. Others were buried in mass graves, hastily without markers. Locations lost. In the craters and trenches, Russians and Germans lie mixed together. The distinction ceases to matter. In death they have become identical. Bodies, meat, returning to earth. Epilogue. Beneath the water. The war moves west, across Ukraine, into Poland, into Germany itself. The front becomes distant, then memory, then history. On the blood-soaked earth where the bridgehead stood, grass grows. Thick grass, rich grass, unnaturally green, fed by what lies beneath. Wildflowers bloom in spring. In summer the grass grows waist-high. Nature reclaims the land with indecent speed. 10 years pass. In 1956 they build a dam, a reservoir, a hydroelectric project. The waters rise, slowly at first, then faster. The river swallows its banks. The ravines fill. Height 100 disappears beneath 20 meters of water. The bones of soldiers, Russian, German, identified, unidentified, sink forever beneath the water, beneath the silt. The reservoir bed settles. The water becomes calm. On the surface you would never know what lies below. Fishermen come. They catch pike and carp. They know nothing of the bridgehead. The battle has been forgotten. A minor action. A small sacrifice. One of thousands. But the memory remains. In military archives. In dry reports that state casualties with bureaucratic precision. In the terrible dreams of survivors, men who lived to old age but never stopped seeing the river, the corpses, the mud. And in one image, Private Alexei Shestakov, in a rotting boat, in the middle of the Dnieper, oar raised, face expressionless, arms moving like machinery, killing his comrades to complete his mission. The oar rises, the oar falls, a hand releases, a man sinks. This is the image of the Velikoknitsky bridgehead. This is what it looked like to force the great river. This is what it cost. The river flowed on, the river always flows on.